Thanks, Jay. Just wanted to also make a note. Some of you, I don't know, did everyone get a conference pass? If you didn't, if you got a name badge, you can still, we have a free expo code that you can use that is right around the corner for registration. So if you want to come back tomorrow and on Wednesday, you can still get free access to the expo pass that we have out here. And I think maybe some of you had been at the expo earlier tonight. No, I think there's some great data that Jay had to share with you. I'm very surprised about I'm glad to see there's good optimism about innovation. And the good thing is that innovation is not just centered here in Silicon Valley, it's actually a global effort that's going on, which is actually pretty cool. It's really cool about Columbia. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to introduce Suze Barnes, and Suze will be moderating the panel tonight. Suze, are you? Give her a round of applause.
Thank you very much. My name is Suze Barnes. I have a small consulting company here in the Bay Area called Suze B Internet Strategy, and we do web search and mobile social strategy consulting. So I'm very happy to be here. And how many people are millennials in the audience? It's hard for me to see, so it looks like maybe 10%, does that seem right? And how many from out of town? I'd say maybe 20%. Where are people from? Europe? South where? South Bay. That's really far away, right? How many people are tweeting at this event today? A couple of people. We have a hashtag, I don't know if it's been mentioned, it's MoMoSV for Mobile Monday Silicon Valley, for all you South Bay people that tweet all the time, right? And how much time do you all spend online? Who spends more than 7 hours online a day? A lot, wow. Who spends about 5 hours? Who spends less than 2 hours? Just a few, okay, great. How many people checked in on Foursquare tonight here? Who doesn't know what Foursquare is? Oh, everyone knows what Foursquare is. Wow, that's great. Okay, so I'd like to introduce you to our panelists here tonight. First up, we have Jack Leaney, who's Portfolio Manager of Telefonica Ventures. Welcome, Jack. And then we have Sophie-Charlotte of Facebook, Global Products, Facebook. And Jude Gomila, co-founder of Hazap. And Gina Torrado-Strayer, Vice President of Community at Lyft. And Kevin Fishner, Business Intelligence at Heap. So, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. So I just have several questions, but we'll start right at the top here. As you can see, we have some millennials here on the panel and some not so millennial. Are you a millennial? And if so, how do you measure up to the general findings of the survey? Let's start with Kevin.
I am a millennial. And I would say in comparison to the other responses, a bit embarrassed to say, but I don't have as much as a global focus, kind of in the Silicon Valley bubble.
Gina?
Yes, I am also a millennial on the upper end. And I think I identify with some of the things that the report sort of summarized, but very interested in sort of leveraging mobile technology to figure out how we can change society, so yeah.
So before I came down to the panel, I checked with Wikipedia on what a millennial was. And Wikipedia tells me that I'm in the age range, so I'm a millennial.
Well, Sue, I think you and I are the only non-millennial on this panel.
Yay!
I am also a millennial. I thought that joke was pointed at me.
So, what percentage of your company are millennials? Let's start with you, John.
Well, so I work in the venture arm on behalf of Telefonica, but Telefonica broadly, we're, as Wade mentioned before, just short of about 300,000 total employees. So I would, venture to say we're a pretty broadly dispersed group of employees. Have a big focus on sort of post-collegiate hiring, the training program, et cetera, the different business units, but a pretty even balance just by virtue of being a sort of global multinational.
So Facebook doubles size every year, so as of today, I'm not quite sure like how many millennials we have in the company, but it's definitely a very, very large proportion.
So Haze Up is currently 100%.
How
We're still trying to, do we have a strict upper limit on the age range?
Gina?
Yeah, so I'm at Lyft, and I would say easily probably 80% of the company is in the millennial demographic.
Yeah, and Keep has 45 employees, and about 70 to 80% from millennials.
Great. What percentage of your company would you say is mobile driven? Start with you, John.
A huge chunk. So we're, primarily a mobile operator, and then the other business that we do some fixed line telephony as well as our cable MSO and ISP business. But I mean, by a landslide, we're a global mobile operator.
Okay.
I'd say all of it, and Facebook is really a mobile-first company, and we have more mobile users than we have web users.
Yeah, Haze Up's completely mobile at this point. And we actually went through a progression from the web to mobile. So.
Yep, Lyft is the same, we're 100% mobile app, so.
Same with Keep, 100% mobile.
Good. So 62% of millennials believe that technology has widened the gap between rich and poor. What are your thoughts on this? And I'm going to start with Gina.
Yeah. I mean, I think, for Lyft, what we've really seen on sort of the mobile side is that we're this sort of bridge between technology and real communities. And so I think we've seen that close a lot of doors open a lot of doors for people to, really connect outside of the typical format of technology. I think Lyft is really disrupting that.
Sophie-Charlotte.
I think one of the things that Facebook does is actually reduce that gap by democratizing technology.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting question, especially for us that we have, we operate in over 20 countries that have very different socioeconomic breakdowns, and whether it pertains to, customers' ability to access credit, how they sort of purchase things, what the sort of local price points are. So there is a dichotomy where you could say, for example, in the UK, we have huge smartphone penetration, very similar to the US, versus in other developing countries that are growing rapidly, sort of the Brazils, Colombia, Perus, Argentinas of the world, where the smartphone penetration is a fraction of that. And it's one of the key things we look at often. How can we change some of the pricing dynamics to bridge that gap? And frankly, where we see a huge opportunity. But I think in the developing world, I would have to agree, it has been true, and I think it has to do a lot with how pure access to information is priced. I mean, a lot of these countries, you still have no home access to the internet. Internet cafes are prevalent. The sort of pricing and margin is completely distorted. And there is a huge opportunity for what is, going from the sort of 2 billion global people online to the next 5 billion that are projected.
How is technology, especially social media, enabling social change? And what are the implications of this for society? Kevin?
Yeah, so I think social media allows for information to flow more freely. And then in combination with mobile technology, you just increase the rate at which information can flow, because I think the majority of us have a cell phone or a smartphone on us at all times. So when you can take a Facebook post or a tweet and immediately share, you're just going to increase the accessibility of information. So as we move into a really global information economy, of course we'll push that.
Well, I think there's a large effect on the empathy that we have for other people. If you can see YouTube videos of drones getting shot down in Turkey, and that's the first thing you wake up to on your Twitter feed, it completely changed everything. So to me, social media does, I suppose, democratize like empathy in some sense. Kind of put those two things together, and it's extremely important. It's eventually we're going to get to the stage where maybe you can feel thirst for someone that can't drink water in Africa. It just needs the sensors and us to be able to tap into that data. So it's very important for everybody, and I think that may increase the perception that the wealth divide is increasing, even whether it is or it isn't. If you can see the data on the other side, it changes the perception.
So yeah, I think one other thing I would add from sort of the service perspective is that I think social media really is all about transparency and people being able to share their experiences in a way that's very democratic. And so I think with Lyft, we've seen our ability to really disrupt the transportation marketplace has been so powerful, primarily because of social media. And so you have people sharing these great experiences that they have. Of course I'm biased with Lyft, but also the other options that are out there are often not up to par. And so I think social media has just been such a great avenue for people to raise the bar for everybody and to really make it about having an excellent experience in sort of the whole industry.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting kind of almost reversal, right? Like a few years ago, I remember a lot of debate around technology as breaking down borders and really kind of almost eradicating countries and the need for political movement. And now with social media, we see that technology is actually enabling, like opening the door for, I want to say, like a new kind of politics that's maybe closer to like true democracy with a lot of grassroots movements. And what I see lacking right now is a political leadership to take on and really drive all the grassroots movements that are happening around the world. The key measure of that moving forward being internet access around the world, and maybe that's a way to diminish the gap between the rich and the poor.
True. What surprised you most about this study, and how does that surprise change the way you think about your business? Jude's thinking.
Yes. Well, the Colombia statistic was surprising to me, but I don't know about Colombian culture, but it was very surprising to me. The rest of it was not so much surprising to me. It was slightly surprising that Middle East and Africa, that one of their main concerns was terrorism. And that word in my head, it really came out. So I'm thinking, okay, well, isn't that the issue? Isn't that an issue in US politics and Twitter right now, with all things to do with PRISM and privacy and everything? And I was thinking, is that really the main thing they're thinking about right now? So I was a bit worried about any kind of selection bias in how these questions were asked. There were the 2 parts. Let's do that.
Kevin?
Yeah, I was most surprised by it. I think the question was, what is the most significant factor on who you are today? And the top answer was family, and second was education, but still only 55% said education, but yet everyone said education is the key driver of technology and progress. So 60 or 55% seemed low, even though it was the most important factor. So that discrepancy maybe means that education, the way it is today, isn't the best setup for driving technological growth. That comment's been made by a bunch of people, but it's really proven with this study.
Yeah, what surprised me the most is the gender gap. And not that there is a difference between men and women as they think about technology, but more like actually how narrow the gap is. Because if you think about, the gender gap in university of women versus men studying science, it's actually much bigger than this. So I think it's actually great news that the outlook of women on technology is so much closer to the positive outlook that guys have on technology, and I hope that it's going to decrease even further with the next generation.
I'm surprised about one other thing.
Yeah, go.
So I think one of the slides showed, what you want to do with your career or something for the future, what do you want to get into, and it had technology being number one, but then science and mathematics, or especially science, was separated. And I was thinking, how does this even separate? And I think there is a difference in people's opinion of technology to science, and maybe consumers are thinking it's actually a separate part and it's not a fluid spectrum now. And that worried me actually, that when they're thinking technology, they're thinking consuming technology rather than creating technology. But we have the